reflective tourism model. The way a community remembers disasters and tragedies reveals the essence of that civilization. Dark tourism is not a form of commercialism that exploits the suffering of others. It is a highly reflective process that transforms past trauma into an educational asset and a source of ethical awareness. This study demonstrates the distinct dichotomy in the identities of the United Kingdom and the United States, two English-speaking nations, as evidenced by their differing narrative structures and business models for dealing with historical tragedies. The 9/11 Memorial in the United States has transformed into a massive educational enterprise that goes beyond a simple memorial space to impart global security and humanity to the post-9/11 generation. In contrast, the Tower of London in the UK established the independent foundation HRP in response to cuts in government subsidies and, through its characteristic wit and emotional detachment, has skillfully reborn its bloody and brutal history into a high-quality cultural product based on storytelling and a space for everyday leisure.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Both spaces began with the heavy burdens of civilizational shock and financial self-reliance. The 9/11 Memorial Park, built at Ground Zero, the site of the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks, was established to heal the shock and sense of loss resulting from the shattering of America's perceived infallibility in national security. Rather than leaving this site as a tomb to the past, American society shifted its paradigm to a global security and humanitarian education initiative aimed at future generations who have not experienced terrorism. It seeks to spread the universal value of human resilience, the ability to withstand fear, beyond mere patriotic unity. Beginning as a fortress in 1066, the Tower of London became a center of terror during the Tudor dynasty, where brutal torture and beheadings were rampant. However, facing a financial crisis due to cuts in cultural heritage subsidies in modern times, the UK found a clever solution by establishing the independent nonprofit foundation HRP. While maintaining the solemn framework of royal heritage preservation, the foundation has transformed the space into a welcoming, everyday leisure space where residents can breathe freely at any time, infusing it with wit and humor. This spatial difference originates in the cultural unconscious of both nations. Since Britain's historical development has been marked by gradual reforms centered on Parliament rather than radical revolution, the British instinctively value balance and restraint. In particular, throughout the Victorian era, a cool-headed restraint, refraining from excessive displays of emotion in public, became established as a hallmark of a civilized citizen. This gave rise to the concept of the stiff upper lip, the quintessential British civic spirit of maintaining composure even in the face of dire crisis. The keep calm and carry on mentality that sustained Londoners during the German air raids of World War II is a prime example of this. For the British, history is not a source of intense sorrow, but a dispassionate text for contemplating and reflecting on the transience of human power. In contrast, Americanness stems from the worldview articulated by Puritan leader John Winthrop as the city on a hill, the idea of a special nation with a mission to illuminate the world. Within this worldview, crises and disasters are not failures, but stages for demonstrating new heroism and resilience. In other words, the redemption narrative, facing tragedy, overcoming it, and ultimately growing, has been enshrined as the nation's heart. This is precisely why the United States erupted with collective patriotism and emotional solidarity in the face of the immense loss of 9/11. Philip Stone argues that, depending on the temporal distance from the site of the tragedy and the manner of its presentation, there exists a continuous spectrum ranging from the darkest to the lightest.
Ladies and gentlemen, the vast rectangular pool where you now stand marks the exact spot where the North Tower of the World Trade Center once stood. The waterfall plunging ceaselessly 9 meters downward into the abyss symbolizes the immense absence and void lost in an instant. It is a device designed to immerse visitors solely in remembrance. Now, please look at the bronze railing. The names of the 2,983 victims of the terrorist attacks are arranged according to meaningful adjacencies. Coworkers who worked together at the time, flight attendants who evacuated passengers until the very last moment, and firefighters who rushed into the flames stand side by side, just as they were in life. Please touch these names and remember that they were our great neighbors.
Here, the United States demands a profound emotional engagement from visitors, sanctifying this space as a vast sanctuary where the nation's resilience is affirmed through the sacrifices of first responders and the solidarity of its citizens.
Welcome to the Tower of London, a royal fortress, a palace, and a most splendid execution site. The weather is quite typically British, isn't it? Behind me lies Tower Green, where Queen Anne Boleyn, wife of Henry VIII in the 16th century, was beheaded after being forced to accept the charge of treason. Out of consideration for his wife's final moments, Henry VIII invited a first-class swordsman from France, a master of the blade, instead of using an axe, ensuring a single, clean cut to minimize her suffering. It was a truly touching gesture on the king's part. Well now, please make sure your heads are still attached and follow me to the next stop on our execution tour.
Modern Britain does not present this space as raw horror. Instead, it actively incorporates the guide's cynical black humor and jokes. Thanks to this, visitors maintain a certain psychological distance rather than sinking into sorrow, allowing them to view history as a kind of intellectual text. The unconscious mindsets of these two civilizations are most clearly revealed in their business models, which achieve 100% financial self-sufficiency. If the United States is a hot funnel model that absorbs global public traffic, the United Kingdom adopts a cold lock-in structure that tightly binds local residents. Please look at the slide on the screen. The 9/11 Memorial in the United States leverages its prime location in the heart of Manhattan to open its ground-level plaza completely free of charge. After attracting a staggering 11.3 million visitors annually, it directs people into the high-priced paid museum located underground. In contrast, the Tower of London in the UK attracts around 5 million visitors annually, but its real strength lies in a robust local membership ecosystem of 160,000 members. These members return to the Tower of London an average of 1.88 times a year, serving as a financial buffer that sustains the institution even amid global crises. In effect, they have turned a site of brutal executions into a regular destination for everyday strolls. They secure a stable annual tax refund of £814,000. It is a model of Now, moving beyond intuition, it is time to confront the truth of the data, proven by tens of thousands of texts. A look at the U.S. 9/11 Memorial Corpus reveals that the vocabulary of lost and sad, words that directly confront the pain of the tragedy, form the heavy foundation of the text. But the real magic lies in the words that embody a resolute will to overcome this pain, namely, remember, thank, and forget, whose combined frequency reaches 445 instances, completely overwhelming the negative vocabulary in terms of quantity. In terms of emotional scores, thank and peace, which recorded the highest score of 90, directly counter the negative pain, achieving a perfect symmetrical balance. This is evidence of emotional alchemy that transforms sorrow into gratitude and solidarity. In particular, a time series trend analysis reveals emotional synchronization. Whenever sorrow reaches a sharp peak, the graphs for thank and remember surge upward in unison, as if by prior arrangement. This serves as definitive quantitative evidence of a redemptive narrative that transforms the pain of disaster into a national mission and civic solidarity, demonstrating that the physical spatial design of the memorial creates a vivid sense of present-day solidarity within visitors' hearts. In contrast, the dataset from the Tower of London in the UK reveals a completely different emotional framework. The Tower of London dataset features a greater number of unique words and a higher lexical density. This means that instead of resorting to monotonous emotional expressions, visitors employed a highly diverse and rational vocabulary to discuss the site's history and narrative. This character becomes even more evident when examining the top words. The only word denoting a horrific history is bloody, a colloquial expression of emphasis, while the text is dominated by a humorous vocabulary such as brilliant, great, humor, and joke. The emotional polarity is also concentrated almost entirely in the neutral zone, proving that visitors do not consume the horrific history of executions as raw horror, but rather accept it as a tragedy filtered through humor via the guide's witty narratives. The node occupying the strongest central position in the network structure is not the site of the tragedy itself, but the guides, the yeoman warders. The time series trend, shown as a flat linear graph, indicates that visitors maintain a consistent level of intellectual contemplation throughout the tour without experiencing any sudden emotional shocks. This demonstrates the uniquely British aesthetics of irony, which treats dark atrocities with ironic detachment and wit. These quantitative statistics perfectly align with the qualitative feedback from actual visitors. While visitors in New York experienced a passionate narrative of redemption, transforming the sense of loss they witnessed in the museum's basement into vivid gratitude and blessings through the records of rescue workers' sacrifices. Visitors in London demonstrated the aesthetics of cool detachment, enjoying the space of terror where the politics of beheading once ran rampant as sophisticated cultural heritage, cushioned by the yeoman warders' cynical humor and ironic banter. In conclusion, the two paradigms of dark tourism we have encountered serve as empirical evidence in the history of civilization, demonstrating how the same raw material, historical tragedy, can be shaped differently using the tools of each culture's collective unconscious. The United States, grounded in the Puritan spirit of the city upon a hill, chose a passionate, redemptive capitalist structure that fosters solidarity and growth even in the face of the abyss of loss. It sanctified Ground Zero as a vast sanctuary for teaching humanity and built it into a global destination brand business that draws in audiences from around the world. In contrast, the United Kingdom, driven by the cool-headedness and black humor epitomized by the stiff upper lip, chose a cold institutional system that maintains intellectual detachment even amidst cruelty. Through the sophisticated storytelling products and local membership ecosystem of the independent foundation HRP, they have gently transformed the space of tragedy into a serene, everyday leisure space where the local community can breathe freely at any time. This dual worldview, which addresses the community's darkest memories, serves as a fundamental spiritual milestone for Anglo-American civilizations as they maintain their identity and forge a path toward the future. Thank you for listening.